Hello and welcome to another episode of An English Guy Watching Wrestling. I'm the English Guy. I'm Nick. Thank you so much for clicking on another video. I'll say it right. I really do appreciate it. And in this one, we're going to be reviewing Impact Wrestling No Surrender from February 13th, 2021. And I will say it was a very good show. So with that being said, let's get on with the review. Opening match was Triple XL and Tennille Dashwood versus Decay, who was Rosemary, Crazy Steve, and Black Taurus. Now, I was actually looking forward to this match because a very unusual trio of Tennille Dashwood and Triple XL, but three wrestlers I really like against, not going to lie, perhaps my new favourite faction in all of Impact Wrestling because I like Crazy Steve and Rosemary as they were singles wrestlers. Now they're back as Decay, now they've introduced Black Taurus. And if you've ever seen him before, he's a luchador from AAA, I believe, in Mexico, and he's good. He's very good. For a guy his size, he can move. He's obviously been trained in Lucha Libre. And this was actually a very decent and very good opening six-person tag match. And a very unusual tag team, as I said, with Tennille Dashwood and Triple XL. But the way they all put their efforts in was actually very, very good. And this was a real, I think, another proving ground match, I think, in a small way for Black Taurus because he's kind of new to Impact Wrestling. But, you know, he looks like he belongs there. That's all I'm going to say. And it's great to see him there. So, and this was a really good six-person opening tag match, and it was enjoyable. So, a good way to start the pay-per-view, and that's what you always want, really. So, thumbs up to all six people involved. Well done. Next match was Hernandez and Brian Myers versus Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona. Now, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers have a history. Of course, both former wrestlers in the WWE. Now, of course, part of Impact Wrestling. Now, I'm pretty sure Matt Cardona is not signed to Impact Wrestling. That's fine. But Eddie Edwards and Hernandez are. And so is Brian Myers. And this was actually, to be honest, a very good tag match. I was impressed with all six men. It was kind of like a simplistic, formatic tag match. But they all did very, very well. All four men, very well experienced in professional wrestling. And I actually really enjoyed this. And as tag matches go, from one good tag match to another, you can't complain. And this was actually a good, simplistic, but sometimes that's all you need, good tag match. And it was good to see Brian Myers pick up the win, which I think he needed in this kind of situation. And if we're going to get more with these four men all going at it, I would not complain because it's been entertaining so much. I want to see Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers in the ring. That's what I'm going to say. But all four men did a fine job, so definitely can't complain. Thumbs up. Next match was, I think, a matchup that really surprised me, but in a very good way. Jake Something, who was once Jake Dina, or cousin Jake, versus Dina. Now, of course, both men, I think, in real life are actually cousins, so very, very unique. But of course, Dina has joined with Violent by Design, which is, I would say, led by Eric Young. In a way, I'll say led by Eric Young. Joe Doring, of course, big guy. And of course, Jake Something, going back to who he used to be called in the independent scene. I remember Joe Something was his old name, going back to that, and that's absolutely fine. But this was actually, obviously, more of Dina saying to Jake, you should have joined us after last week's Impact Wrestling. Jake declining Violent by Design's invitation to join them because he wants to stand on his own 2 feet and he was stand for something, hence Jake Something. It works. And this was a decent match, perhaps the weakest match on the card, and I'm not saying it in a negative way. It was just actually a very enjoyable match. And this was, I think, Jake Something's ability to step out on his own because he picked up the win, and I was not expecting him to win this match, to be completely honest. I thought Dina was going to win. No, he didn't. Won by Jake, and it was a decent match. And I think in the right way, the best way to get the momentum building for Jake as to doing something new in Impact Wrestling, Jake Something. So it's good to see. And can't really say much more than that. A good feud ending match, I'd say. I'm not too sure if it's going to be over between both parties, but we'll see how it goes out. But there you go. Next match was, I think, one of the most unusual matches in Impact Wrestling I've seen for a while. But then again, Impact Wrestling are known for having unique matches. But not to say this match wasn't great, because it was really, really great. Was the six-man. It's hard to describe this one, but I'm going to say it. a 6-man triple threat match. And basically, the rules were 3 men start in the ring. Once 1 man is pinned or submitted, they're eliminated, and then someone else goes. So basically, the whole time it was a triple threat match with 8 wrestlers involved. So kind of like a triple threat elimination match, as weird as it sounds. But I know it sounds very, very weird, but not to say it didn't work. So I thought it worked very well. Wouldn't mind seeing this match again in the future. That being said, the competitors were Daivari, Suicide, Willie Mack, Ace Austin, Trey Miguel, Blake Christian, and Chris Bay. Now, there's one thing I've said before, I said it recently, that it's bizarre to see Josh Alexander in this kind of match, but obviously the X Division's never been about weight limits, it's about no limits. And pound for pound, it's probably no surprise to see me say this, that he's probably the best all-round wrestler in Impact Wrestling. He won the match, and this overall, from start to finish, was just stunning. And Trey Miguel being in it from the very start, within it to the very end, and I think he's starting to get more of a momentum push excuse me, in Impact Wrestling, and I'm glad to see it because Trey Miguel is I'm not gonna lie, I think Trey Miguel is just awesome. Yeah, he's one of my favourite. Was one of my favourite trios of Rascals, but of course now, and Rascals now called MSK, going to NXT. Trey Miguel is in Impact Wrestling. Still love to see both parties, so both people, or tag team and individual wrestler, I would say, right, do a fantastic job. And Trey Miguel, I think, is really starting to show what he can do. And I love this match. In the all 8 men involved, just put on a very good wrestling exhibition of what they can do. And Blake Christian, just signed by WWE, has obviously turned up for this match, but I think this might be the last time we see him in Impact Wrestling. If so, then fine, but I think he's going to head to 205 Live, if I had to guess, or NXT at least. But this was a good match, and probably one of the best matches on the card, to be completely honest. And I enjoyed this one. Yeah, if it's a very bizarre, unique match. I don't think it's ever happened in Impact Wrestling before. If I'm wrong, then fine. But I wouldn't mind seeing it happen again, to be completely honest, because this was entertaining. So, definite thumbs up for this match. Really, really good stuff. This match was Fire and Flavor defending the Impact Knockout Tag Team Championship belts against Havoc and Neve in a Tornado Rules no disqualification match. Tornado Tag Rules, I think. And that's not something you see very often in Impact Wrestling, but you know what? I'm all for it. And this was, I think, needed because they're in the feud they've had, the disqualification in the singles matches they've had against each other. And I really enjoyed this match. And there's something about these two teams that just seems to bring out a different kind of chemistry with each other. And even though it was a tornado, no disqualification match, it was bizarre, but still very, very adequate. Sorry, it was very, very put well together. Well put together, I would say it that way. Tongue tying myself. For all 4 of these ladies did. And I really enjoyed it. And this was, again, I think perhaps the end of this feud. But if not, I'm definitely not complaining because I wouldn't mind seeing all 4 of these women have another match. I mean, Fire and Flavor have won 2 in a row. Obviously, they won the belts. They defended them. And I was a bit surprised to see them win the match. I thought, honestly, Havoc and Neve would win them. No. But there you go. Sometimes that works, but good match. The X Division Championship match was title match, I should say, was next. TJP defending against Rohit Raju. Now, of course, not the first time these 2 men have ever met in the ring, but this was probably the best match today, I'll say this. And obviously, I will say TJP, we all know is Manic, has the same, just a different character. But I think this was easily the best match today, and both men just shined brilliantly in this match. And a great example of how the X Division is just shining brightly and better than perhaps ever. And I thought if there's one thing that Rohit Raju, even though he lost, can take away from this, that he is perhaps the unsung star of the X Division. I'm going to say it because he's great. And in the end, TJP did win the match, and he's going to be facing Josh Alexander. If, of course, TJP is still champion by that time. But, of course, I think everybody wants to see that match as a wrestling clinic, and it will be. But this was a great match. And, again, a fantastic advertisement for the X Division. Again, we've got 2 wrestlers like these 2. They can't really do much wrong. And it proved, and it showed in this match. This was a stunning X Division Championship match. That's it. Best one they've had against each other to date. So, thumbs up. And then the next match was Diana Perazzo, Kimberly and ODB versus Jordan Grace, Jazz, and sorry, I was saying I got it wrong. 6-woman tag match, Diana Perazzo, sorry, on the phone. Anyway, a little mistake, but I'll move on. Diana Perazzo, Kimberly and Susan versus ODB, Jordan Grace and Jazz. Continuing the feud they've had with each other, and even though this wasn't the longest match, it was actually a fun match to watch. And seeing ODB back in Impact Wrestling brings back so many memories. You know, one of the most unconventional and unusual female competitors I think you'll ever see in wrestling. But as I said, it was. And it's great to see Susan do her thing. And now, obviously, we all know who it is. It's Sue Young, but in a different character. So it's not Susie, it's Susan. And I just love the diversity she brings to these. And of course, you've got Jazz, legend, Jordan Grace, who can always do a good job against arguably the best technical female wrestler in the world, Diana Perazzo. So Kimberly, who is one of my favourite female wrestlers in Impact Wrestling, and of course Susan. And this was a good 6-woman tag match, and the right team won. I think ODB's team needed the win after the recent kind of situation going on between these two, where Diana's side has had more of the momentum. But this was a well-deserved win. I think the right win. So the right result for them to win. So good women's 6-man tag match. There you go. I think I gave a thumbs up for the match before. There you go. Which led us to the triple threat Impact World Tag Team Championship match, which was the Good Brothers defending against James Storm and Chris Sabin and AEW's Private Party. And when I heard it was going to be a triple threat tag team match, I was a bit surprised that they did this because, excuse me, sorry, a bit of a phlegm in a minute, I do apologise. But anyway, but it was the right call because I actually wanted to see Good Brothers versus Private Party in a single regular tag match. But that being said, having all 3 teams in it was the right call because this was superb. And again, it's not very often you see these kind of matches with AEW involved. Even though Private Party are always, I've said it before, most reliable tag teams you're ever going to find. All 3 teams, and all 6 men were just on fire in this match. And I think it was the right call to have Good Brothers win the match by stealing it after James Storm's hit by a shooting star press by Mark Quinn. And of course, gets in the ring. Carl Anderson, off he goes, 1, 2, 3. Great way in the match to keep the title run going, and I think maybe to keep the situation between Impact Wrestling and AEW going, because I don't think it's going to be the last to see a Private Party at all. But I really, really did enjoy this match, and this was again a great example of a great tag team division that Impact Wrestling has. Even though there's not as many as there were before, this is just great stuff, and a superb triple threat tag match. And honestly, the best, I think, Impact Wrestling tag match I've seen this year so far, and that's not easy for me to say because there's been some good ones. But this was a great match. Thumbs up. Which brings us to the main event, and honestly, match of the night. Now, Tommy Dreamer is a guy who's been going for 30 plus years in his business, and if there's one guy who is liked by everyone in wrestling that I've never heard a bad word against him, it's Tommy Dreamer because of the love and respect he has. And on his 50th birthday, which was this past Saturday, my apologies, February 13th, challenged Rich Swann for the Impact World title, even though Rich Swann challenged him, asked him for the match, because Tommy Dreamer has been in Impact Wrestling for a while and it's pretty much I think, the heart and soul of that promotion, of that company, I should say, because he influences everyone, helps out a lot, and that's just Tommy Dreamer. And despite the fact he's 50 years old, and if there's any man that's had so many continues onwards no matter what, it's Tommy Dreamer. Guy's had a broken neck, broken ribs, and everything. And in this match, he dislocated his finger. For real. People thought, is it storyline based? Nope. Is it to get momentum? Nope. He legitimately dislocated his finger. Because you could see it clear as day. As he was on the floor with Rich Swann after a dive, you could see his finger, I think it was his pinky, not only put aside like this. But what does he do? Doctor always says before that the right call. Brian Hebner gave the X to say, he's legitimately hurt, and of course, Doctor comes down to ringside, helps pour the cold water on to numb the pain a little bit. What does Tommy do? Pop it back into place, and just keeps on going. That's Tommy Dreamer for you. I mean, I couldn't help but absolutely love that. That added on to what was already an excellent match. Honestly, this was a cracking main event. And if it's, I will say this, if it's Tommy Dreamer's last ever world title match, because I'm not sure. I'm not saying he's not going to continue wrestling, but if it is, his last big hurrah, then what hurrah! It was stunning. I've seen many Tommy Dreamer matches. This is probably the best match I've ever seen him in. He could wrestle. I mean, everybody knows him more as a hardcore wrestler. That's fine. But that didn't stop him having one of the best matches I've ever seen him have, if not the best, against Rich Swan, who is reliable as they come and a great world champion. And I really like Rich Swan. I think he's great. This was a fantastic wrestling match from both men. And even though Rich Swan is a bit more of a high flyer, he did show some wrestling in this one too. And it showed from both men that they can go with each other. And this was fantastic. And I would say accidental added, boost that dislocated his finger and popped it back into place was like to build momentum for the match. Even though it was unintentional, they still used it, and that's kind of good storytelling between Rich Swann and Tommy Dreamer. Even though I'm pretty sure Rich Swann would have said, I don't want to touch the hand, but of course he did. I think that was at Tommy's permission. Said, no, go for it, keep going. That's sort of the obvious target. And even though it happened, Rich kind of got booed a little bit. I will say this because there's a little bit of crowd noises in Impact Wrestling, sorry, and they were kind of booing him. I thought kind of justified, but also kind of good. But to add to that and to throw together one of the best matches I've ever seen either man have an Impact was just a great way to top up a very good show. And as I said, if it is Tommy Dreamer's last hurrah, then fair enough. But it is a heck of a way to go out. And this was an early contender for match of the year for me. And the thing is, this is just me saying this, is I can look at this match objectively and don't think about the broken, dislocated finger. Because obviously, you don't want to see it happen. Tommy Dreamer's been through enough injuries in his career as it is. But if this ends up being in my top 10, I don't really do top 10 matches of the year these days. I used to, but I don't now, because there's so many good ones sometimes. But if this ends up being my top 10 matches of the year that I remember and think, yep, that was definitely one of them, then no surprise, because this was stunning. And, to top off a very good pay-per-view for Impact Wrestling. So, that being said, that is it for this review. Thank you so much for watching. I apologise for the tongue-tying of myself. Happens now and then. But there you go. Sometimes it just happens. But I will see you all next time. As I said, thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are in the world, please take care. I'll see you next time.